Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Módulo Músico Sonidos. You'd spell it Modull, M as a Mary, U as an umbrella, N-I, and then the number 2. All right. Once again, my name is Max, founder of M&P Global Music. You can visit our website at mmpglobalmusic.com. All of our information is in Spanish and also in English. You can go over all the services that we do offer for independent artists, musicians, songwriters, producers. All of the information is there, and feel free to reach to us if you have any questions or if you need any of those services. We are also affiliated partner with Soundtrack Your Brand, okay, which provides background music for all businesses. All right, and that's to ensure that all musicians, artists, composers, songwriters, producers get paid their share, get paid for their work. All right, so that's what we're currently promoting, and we're hoping and working for all businesses to pay for licensed music. And that certainly leads to the topic today. On this episode, we're going to read the open letter, okay, that was written jointly by BMI and ASCAP, okay, to the industry. Regarding the consent decree reform. With the U.S. Department of Justice evaluating the future of BMI and ASCAP consent decrees, there has been much discussion and concern throughout the industry about the potential long-term impact. This is not surprising, since modifying or sunsetting the decrees would have far-reaching implications for the entire music business. Given that BMI and ASCAP are the core of this issue, we feel it is important to share our perspective on how potential changes to our decrees could benefit all involved if done right. The Department of Justice attention to this matter represents a clear opportunity to do what BMI and ASCAP have been trying to do for years: modernize music licensing to better reflect the transformative changes in the music industry. It's why when we first heard about the possibility of the DOJ sunsetting the consent decrees, it came as welcome news. We believe that a free market with less government regulation is hands down the best way for music creators to be rewarded for their hard work and intellectual property. A free market would create a more productive, efficient, and level playing field for everyone involved. Competition is a good thing. We also know that change is hard. The BMI and ASCAP consent decrees have been in place for nearly 80 years, and suddenly getting rid of them would provoke drastic changes to the current system that would cause chaos in the marketplace. We would venture to say all sides agree on this. So, in order to provide an orderly transition, we are recommending that DOJ replace the current BMI and ASCAP consent decrees with newly formed decrees that would protect all parties. Like all modern consent decrees, they would also include a sunset provision. Those new decrees would contain 4 key provisions. First, allow all music users to still gain automatic access to the BMI and ASCAP repertoires with the immediate right to public performance. However, this right should be contingent upon a fairer, more efficient, less costly, and automatic mechanism for the payment of interim fees. Second, retain the rate court process for resolution of rate disputes, as recently reformed by R&G Hatch-Bob Goodlatte Music Modernization Act, also known as MMA. Third, BMI and ASCAP will continue to receive non-exclusive U.S. rights from our writers and publishers, which allows licensees, songwriters, composers, and publishers to still do direct deals if they so choose. And lastly, fourth, preserve the current forms of licenses that the industry has grown accustomed to beyond the tradition blanket license, such as the adjustable fee blanket license and the per program license. These provisions will allow the industry to function more efficiently and effectively and facilitate a thoughtful transition to a free market. But a word of caution. As we've seen over the years, some organizations will try to use this moment in BMI's and ASCAP's consent decrees to serve their own interest at the expense of the songwriter. Old and new issues could come into play, such as 100% licensing, or even more concerning, a push in Congress by music users to create a compulsory licensing model. Compulsory licensing would take us backwards, not forward, creating a system in which the government, not the market, would determine the value of songwriters' work. It could also have dire consequences for other creative industries. In fact, we see no scenario in which more government regulation of this industry would benefit anyone. It is important to remind everyone that protections exist today in the form of antitrust laws that would continue to exist in a post-decree world and govern current parties as well as any future market entrants. We don't need to create or rewrite legislation to accomplish what antitrust laws already effectively oversee. Pros, our licensees, all have the same goal of keeping music flowing to the public. Ultimately, a vibrant pro system is important to maintain the balance of the industry. With more music being used than ever before, it is critical to safeguard the value of performing right and grow the income stream it generates for creators. BMI and ASCAP operate on a nonprofit making basis, returning nearly 90 cents of every dollar in licensing fees to our songwriters, composers, and music publishers, and we do this in the most efficient and effective way possible. Simply put, BMI and ASCAP offer an essential layer of protection for creators, from helping them through the yearly stages of their careers to tracking and paying on performances across all mediums and advocating for their rights on Capitol Hill. All of this helps keep the music flowing and enables licensees to pay the world's best music today, as well as the hits that will be created in the future. We don't have to look far back to see just how much we can accomplish when the industry becomes together and puts music first. The MMA was signed into law because creators and licensees found common ground and solutions that supported the greater good of the industry. That greater good is reflected in the 4 provisions we are recommending to the DOJ that don't necessarily benefit BMI and ASCAP, but stand to benefit the industry at large. It is the same spirit of compromise which will allow both our licensees and the music creators we represent to thrive in this new era. So this is the ASCAP and BMI Open letter. Okay, so I hope that you retain most of the information. Once again, my name is Max. You can also visit our webpage, mmpglobalmusic.com. We do offer independent label services. And also be sure to locate our podcast or tune into our podcast on all your favorite podcast platform. We're available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher for the Android users. We're available on SoundCloud, on Spotify, on TuneIn Radio, on iHeartRadio, and also on Audio Mac. Thank you for tuning in.